Week 3 of pretending at the office that I am an expert in Excel. Learn with me so one day what is on your CV will actually be true. This week I will show you some easy examples on how to use COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. And at the end of this video there is a bonus practical example on how to make your COUNTIFs function look fancy and advanced. Whether you have a word or a number in your table like I do, you can use COUNTIF to find out how many times a specific word or a number appears in a selected column. I will show you 3 examples on how to use COUNTIF. I have to set up a meeting with employees that were working here for the last 3 months. This is a short list that includes names of employees, how many sales they did and the month in which those sales were made. Using COUNTIF we will find out how many times Oliver appears on the performance list. Write equals COUNTIF, open parenthesis. Our range is the column names, since here we have the name Oliver and we would like to know how many times this name appears on this list. The criteria is what we want the COUNTIF function to count for us. Write in quote Oliver, but remember to write it exactly as it is in the column name. Close parenthesis and hit enter. Oliver appears 3 times on the list. He will have to have a performance meeting with me. We don't have to necessarily write the words in quotes. Let me show you. We will calculate how many times does Emma appear on the list. Write equals COUNTIF open parenthesis. Our range is the column with names, so selects the entire column. Next after comma we select the field Emma. Close parenthesis, hit enter, and we see that Emma is on the list only twice. She must have quit in February. Well, I can't blame her. Moving on. The last COUNTIF example. We can search for numbers too, so let's use COUNTIF to find out how many times does the number 5 appears on the list. Write equals COUNTIF open parenthesis. Our range is the column called sales, since we want to find a number within this column. Select the entire column. After comma, write the number 5. Close parenthesis, hit enter, and now we see that the number 5 appears 4 times in the column sales. COUNTIF can be handy when you have to simply count how many times one thing appears on your list. Since life is usually more complicated than that, I would say that COUNTIFs is more useful. You can use COUNTIFs for one criteria and for multiple criteria. So, my advice would be to learn only COUNTIFs, so you will have to understand only one function that has multiple purposes. I'll show you how it works. I prepared 2 examples. One basic and one a bit more advanced. I will explain everything step by step. First example. You already know my performance review meeting list. I have names of employees, teams names, sales column and month column. Using COUNTIFs we will determine how many sales higher or equal to 25 were there in January. Those are 2 criteria. Month and equal or more than 25. Write equals COUNTIFs open parenthesis. First, we select the criteria range for the first criteria. That means in which column we want COUNTIFs to look for the month of January. This information is in the column month, so select the entire column. The criteria that we would like the function to look for is the month January. Write January in quotes, or select this one month from the month column. After comma, we select the second criteria range, so column sales. And the last criteria is higher or equal 25 again in quotes. Now close parenthesis and hit enter. Indeed, there were 2 sales in January that were equal or higher than 25. One more example so you will get an excellent grasp of the COUNTIFs function before we move to more advanced use for the function. Let's use COUNTIFs to determine how many sales greater than 10 were in Team A. Write equals COUNTIFs open parenthesis. First, we select the first criteria range. Select column team. The criteria is a because we want COUNTIFs to count the sales of only the Team A, so now as criteria we write letter A in quotes. The second criteria range is the column sales. Select the entire column. And finally, the last criteria is the sales bigger than 10. In quotes, write bigger than 10. Hit enter and let's have a look at the performance review meeting list. Indeed, there is only one number higher than 10 in Team A. Oliver is clearly losing motivation. I have lost my motivation years ago, so I can understand him. Anyway, the formula works, and now you know how to use COUNTIFs. Now I have one last example for you so you can not only use COUNTIFs, but you can automate your spreadsheet. I will show you step by step how to make this cool, automated table. First, we will make a drop-down list with the names of the 3 employees, Oliver, Emma, and Mia. Click on the cell where you would like to have your list. Go to Data, Data Validation. Click on Data Validation. Now under the Allow Select List, since we need a drop-down list. Under Source, I'll write the 3 names. Oliver, Emma, and Mia. Click OK. It works. Now let's write COUNTIFs formula, so we can have an automatic overview of how many sales greater than 10, Oliver or any other person on the list did. Write equals COUNTIFs and open parenthesis. First, we select the first criteria range. The first criteria range are the names, since we would like to filter by the names. Fix it using F4, or just write the $sign. The criteria is whatever name we select from our drop-down list. Fix that too. Now the second criteria range are the months, so select the column with months and fix. The criteria for this criteria range is the month January in our new table. This criterion will stay relative. That means you don't add the $sign, so we will be able to apply the formula down. Once we are done, you will see what it looks like. Last criteria range are the sales. Select the entire sales column and fix it. And the criteria for this column is the requirement that sales need to be bigger than 10. Write it in quotes. Close the parenthesis. Now I would like to apply this formula down. Because we have left the month criteria relative, when we applied the formula down, cell G9 shifted down and become G10, and in March row it is G11 as it should. Click twice on the field with formula to see the entire formula, like I do now. According to my new the table, only Emma was meeting company's expectations in the last 3 months. Maybe the company should lower its expectations. For those who follow my weekly videos, you remember the COUNTIFs function. This is a little refreshment. I'll explain it step by step, so even if you didn't watch my last week video, you will be able to understand how it works. Below this video, you will find a link to my entire COUNTIFs video. I would like to have a sum of sales for every person from the list. Follow along. Write equals COUNTIFs and open parenthesis. We would like to sum Oliver's sales from the last 3 months. We start with the sum range, so what we would like to sum. We want to sum sales, therefore select the sales column. Next, we would like to sum the sales by names of the employees, so we select the column names. The last thing the function needs to know is for what name from the name column we would like to have the sum of sales. This information is in our drop-down list. Close parenthesis and look at this. It works. Mia did more than 10 sales in January and March, and her total sales in those 3 months is 35. Now you know how to use COUNTIFs in a spectacular way. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.